Hi, Karen with you today. Thank you so much for joining me. I have a scrapbook layout for Kitaholic Kits and I'm using the April 2022 kit and I am going all florally today. But I really wanted to feature this gorgeous wood grain paper, and I've created some flowers with the gorgeous pattern paper that we got in the kit as well, and I've used some metal dies to create that. I ran that through my Cuttlebug. I had not used my Cuttlebug in years, so I used the wrong plates at first, and then I finally worked it out and remembered what I needed to do, and I really love how they turned out. I also cut some of it into with a white cardstock as well, because I'm thinking while I'm creating it that I'm going to create some layers of my flowers, but we'll wait and see how I get along when I'm doing that. What I wanted to do was a relatively minimalist layout today, but it's really, when I think about it, it's probably not minimalist by the time it finishes, but it was what I had in my mind at first. I love that about how sometimes how creations come about. I have an idea in my mind, and once I start, it always goes on a tangent. Anyway, all right, so to create the background for this one, I wanted just to give a bit of a soft touch to the wood grain paper. So I added some white acrylic paint with some added water and just did a whitewash across the patterned paper. And I wanted to make sure you could still see it. So it was a very thin whitewash across that. And then, of course, I need some glitter. So I had some gold spray in my stash. So I've just done a heap of splattering there on the page. And then I thought it needed a little bit of colour. And I just recently purchased the Distress Oxide in the Barn Door, I think it's Barn Door, from the store as well. And as it dried, I love how this turned out because it really started matching in so beautifully with the patterned paper from the flowers. So I've got a little bit of shine and a little bit of red corally colours coming in, and I really love how that turned out. So at this stage, I think, I'm going to put the flowers all over the page. And then I thought, I don't know where my photo is going to go. And I wanted to layer them as well. So once I started layering things, it took me quite a while. I had to take so much editing of this page. It took me ages to sort of start thinking about where I was going to put these flowers. And what I find really interesting about when I watch this back as I'm doing my voiceover, it's a couple of days after I've created the layout. So I'm looking at it going, well, that actually looks all right, how I've got those flowers pointed there and how it's sort of sitting on the page and things like that. And, this is looking okay. It's not where I put my photo at all. And I did change it up a little bit. But it's always quite interesting to me that when I watch things back compared to when I've created it, where I start to think, no, this doesn't look right. But when you see it again, it's like taking a photo, I guess, sometimes of a layout before I finish to go, what's missing? Is there something odd about what I've done? All right, so I'm digressing, as always, chitty-chatty me. So what I've decided to do is I wanted to layer these flowers up. So I've used some of the white in amongst some of the coloured, but left some of them as without white as well, just to give a little bit of change across the page. And I really wanted to use some of the ephemera pieces as well from the kit. And I aimed for for the tags as well as that lovely little floral piece from the Simple Stories ephemera pack as well. And I really like how these turned out. It gave the ability to be able to put some of that sort of mustardy colour in. So it sort of suited where I'd put the gold and things like that. So this is where I challenged myself to be able to use things that I didn't necessarily at first think it matched, but I think it worked really well together. My air conditioning was on, if you saw that flying across the page, and it was really hot when I was creating this one, so the aircon was a must. So all my pieces just flew across the page constantly until I glued it all down. So I'm just gluing these things down at the moment. Using some glue is way easier just to use glue than using some tape on that. And I really love how this one ended up finishing. I decided to put the photo on the very top of the layout, which again is something that I don't normally do. I often have things, I'm sure that you've noticed that a lot of my things are, my layouts do tend to be either one side or another, or sometimes dead set in the middle. So that sounds like I do things differently all the time, but I really don't. There is certainly a bit of a formula, I guess, that I like, and what aesthetics that I really sort of are drawn to when I'm creating. But I really loved the effect of having the flowers flowing down the page from Jacob and I. This is a selfie of him and I that I took when we were in Italy around 6 years ago. I have a heap of photos that are printed that have still never seen the light of day into an album, and this is just one of those. So this layout has got nothing to do with our trip, but I just really like this selfie of us. It does conjure up memories for me of our trip, but that's not what this one was about, but it's still a special photo for me anyway. And I really love it. I think I've actually scrapped it before, if I'm to be honest. Just to add a bit of extra interest on the page as well, I grabbed out some cotton, and this is some, I guess it's not thread, it's really thick sort of almost twine, but it's not as harsh as twine, and I thought it just gave a little bit of a border across the page as well, and I stapled that down across the page on an angle there, and I thought I'd also bring in some sort of more structured gold dots, and I'm using the Bright Gold Nouveau drops. Now, a little bit of a hint here that I learnt while I was sort of pulling these together and putting these down is, if you really want to get a really nice rounded sort of edge to these and a domey sort of feel, you lift up the paper and flick your fingers against the paper, and that will sort of get any bubbles out for one, and it will help it settle into a nice little dome, so it'll really look like an enamel dot. So I do that with both the gold and the white as well, and that pretty much finishes the layout. I do add an extra couple of gold splatters from my ink spray as well, just so that there's lots of shine everywhere, and then we are done. So as always, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I will leave all the details in the description box below on where you can get the kit. Don't forget to be sharing. Oh, look, yes, I did actually use my white sprays as well. That was Dina Wakley Gloss Spray. That pretty much goes on all my layouts. I love white splatters. I've got some close-ups for you as well. And thank you so much for all your likes and your comments. I do really, really appreciate it. I want to thank you for joining me today, and I hope I've given you just a little bit of inspiration to create. And I will see you next time. Bye for now.